Welcome back to CECC 2022. We are in the midst of some tense Overwatch competition. We're about to go into a new match, and we get to hear from our players, both from Illinois State and Harrisburg. From Jackie down on the floor. Hi, Jackie.
Hey, Anna, that's right. I am with Elk and Gig. Really excited about this matchup. So, Elk, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. So far, the tournament's been a lot of fun, and we're really excited to get going.
Okay, Gig, how about you?
Very excited, happy that the break is over, and let's get down to business.
Okay, the break, we're erasing that from our minds, but okay, who's winning?
Harrisburg has worked really hard this entire semester. We put up a really good showing at NACE. I wasn't able to play with the team for the Overwatch Collegiate Championship, so I'm really excited to put up a good showing here. I expect us to win, but it should be a good game.
Okay, Gig, how you feeling? You guys taking this one?
If Rupal heals me, no doubt we win. So.
Okay, you are winning the shoe game. I'm really sorry to call you out here, Elk, but what is happening here?
I've just had them for a few years. I wore them to Overwatch League when I was playing, still have them. Just, if I win this event, I'll buy new ones.
Okay, all right. Well, you may be getting some new shoes. We will have to see. Sending it back to the desk.
That was the dirtiest thing y'all could have did. Why would you show their shoes like that?
He hit it with a flex, though. He came back. He hit him with the soft flex. He was like, I haven't changed my shoes since I was in the Overwatch League.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
You
saying.
know,
There's luck in those
War-torn
shoes.
veteran shoes,
Yeah,
for sure.
there's a little bit of flex there. We take that.
There's also the pity, like, new shoes for Elk. Hashtag new shoes.
Not the
If that starts
Kickstarter.
trending, I'm going to bed happy.
Let's go. It's like a Sarah McLachlan commercial. So, all right. Anyways, esports, that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Illinois State and Harrisburg facing off. I need to get your guys' predictions. Who wants to go first?
I already gave you mine. You know.
Yeah, he's taking
I'm
Illinois
going that
State.
underdog. I'm going that underdog, Illinois.
So I do want to drop some knowledge. I'm glad that the players we got to interview just now were the two that I wanted to talk about, because we talked about some other players on Harrisburg earlier. We talked about Lethal and Tap, the DPS duo. They come from, Contenders and Uprising. But there's also Elk, who is, been in the Overwatch League, has played in Contenders with the Philadelphia Fusions team, and has won 3 consecutive Contenders titles. So those shoes really must be lucky. If they're talking on the bottom, he must be going crazy on the keyboard, because I would change my shoes. But if I win 3 consecutive Contenders titles, that means something important is really happening for this team. And the better part of that is, he even mentioned it, Elk said, I wasn't here playing for NACE with the team. You know who they faced in the NACE finals to win it, by the way? It was Illinois State, and they beat them 3-1. So they're going up against the same opponent again in a tournament format. This time it's not for the first place, but it's to get in contention for that first place. But also it's against the same team with one of your best players, right? And then on the other side, you've got Gig, who was the person they were interviewing. And before the show, you said you love the German guy, Reinhardt. That is the best Reinhardt in collegiate Overwatch. So if you play Reinhardt and you're doing what that guy does, you're doing something right.
Vaughn, what do you think we're going to see in this match? I know your prediction was Harrisburg,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
What do you think we're going to see from them?
I think, so this is like the fight of the number 2 and number 3 seed, right? So I feel like that this is not only going to be a close game, but obviously some of the other picks it is that we had seen earlier throughout the matches, especially with SCAD, is like more so like the Lucio, the Baptiste. We focus a lot on those characters that can really enhance survivability, that can really put the pressure on a lot of those different teams, a lot of those different units. And I think that's what makes it so interesting as well, is seeing how this number 2 and number 3 seeds sort of take and adapt that strategy. That's something it is we talked about all the way at the beginning of the show, is how collegiate leagues are. Like it's to be fair, like it isn't looked at like as seriously as something as a pro league, depending on who it is that you ask, right? But you see so much innovation, so much uniqueness out of collegiate leagues, because they'll do stuff that other people are afraid to do, because it breaks sort of like it breaks sort of like the meta and intention.
It's the Stewie 2K smoke running through it, jumping, I'm going to pop out, and it's like, why is he here? Like, what? Right, guy pops a 4K, and you're like, all right, we lose. So, yeah, I love that. I want that confidence, that even overconfidence, or like even some of the cheese strats, like you guys were talking about when they teleported in on defense, I'm like, that doesn't seem right. But sometimes it works. Sometimes you do it. Not everybody can like just, Protoss cannon rush, kind of stuff. Like, I need that in my life. Like, if you drone rush me and you win, so be it.
So You're going with Harrisburg?
Yeah, I'm going with Harrisburg.
They did beat SCAD recently in the playoffs. I want you to know that.
They did.
Okay.
That's crazy that you would bring that back up after you told me that
He's
we
doing
were on camera.
the transformative play. He's like, you know what, they beat us, so they're my new favorite. It's carrying the torch. Like,
all right.
gotta do what you gotta do.
You were talking about the cheese plays. I think honestly that's the crux of why I like collegiate so much, because I don't like knowing exactly what I'm going to see in the match. I like expecting that somebody's going to surprise me. So if I have a favorite, it's whoever is surprising me with something weird. You know? Do you think there's anything weird we'll see out of these teams, or do you think they're going to play pretty standard, knowing that they have this history with Overwatch League and all that?
I think there might be one surprise, like one big surprise that comes out. I don't think we're going to see.
Time to show the Giga Brain. You're a prophet. Call it. Call your shot. What's happening?
Yeah, you are the Steve
out.
Madden
and if you
of
say it loud enough, they might hear you.
Steve Madden. I didn't know I looked this good.
Oh, sorry, I said Steve Madden. That's hilarious.
Long lost cousin of John.
I like shoes.
I do like shoes, but I like clothes a lot more than shoes.
Yeah, you know, I'm sticking with it.
You can't see my shoes.
You are the Steve Madden, actually. You said you were the John Madden. I'm saying this. Anyway,
call your shot,
esports,
man.
call it.
What do you do? What's the cheese?
So we're going to see a Sombra at some point, I think, from Harrisburg, and it's going to be the most ridiculous Sombra play that we're going to see all tournament. But I actually am looking forward to seeing Lethal and Tap play, because here's the crazy thing. When you watch them playing contenders together on the same team, they play what they're normally playing. When they play for Harrisburg, I don't know why, but they swap characters. They both play DPS, so they don't swap roles, but like Lethal will play Tracer even though that's Tap's job. So I'm like, what is happening here? So if you start to see them go towards their defaulted
Honestly, maybe
DPS,
that's why they play so well together.
Yeah, it's because
it's like, hey, you're playing the thing that I do and what I cover, and you get an appreciation for it. And now you know how to set me up or help me out because I also have done that thing. Maybe it's that synergy that they're working on. Yeah,
and I like that, because then that's really when a composition shines. We always talk about in other games someone that can flex two different roles, but if you have two players like in Overwatch who can both play the same DPS at the same level, that's really when your composition can shine, because you're not constrained to picking, if we pick Tracer, we got to pick the Tracer, but we also have to pick Cassidy, but Lethal plays both of those, so like, you know, but if you have two people that can do both, the world is yours, and Harrisburg is my pick, so.
So prolific, then.
Wonderful.
We also have SCAD and Northwood watching this match to see who they're going to be facing next. SCAD having gone into the lower bracket. And what do you think they're watching for right now? What are they trying to learn about these teams?
So typically when you look at competitive play, whenever it is that you actually like coach or whatever it may be, VOD review is typically one of the bigger portions of training, one of the bigger portions of coaching, is making sure that you understand that you're able to recognize what mistakes it is that are being made and see if you can capitalize on them. It's something that happens a lot no matter what game it is you look at, whether it's League, whether it's Overwatch, whether it's Smash. You're talking about situations where people will look at these games, they'll go over them, they'll look through, and they'll try and see if they can capitalize or pick out key mistakes, find out if their weaknesses can become their strengths in this specific matchup, right? So that's sort of what you have to do when you're doing that. When you're watching people sort of play on the screen, there's a lot of small, minute things that, you know, the audience may not be able to understand, or even we may not be able to catch. But when you're at that level, when you're playing consistently, you're playing all these games for hours a day, you're going to be able to find those small, minute things that could end up carrying you to victory.
Speaking of review and coaching and things, as an undefeated coach.
Two-time land coach winner, by the way. In two different games. In two different games. Two different titles.
If we're going to come back and I'm going to be wearing two headsets, I'm not going to be here.
No, but honestly, I think SCAD is just ready to go. It doesn't matter who they face, right? Because at this point, they're warmed up. They just went up against a 6-contender roster, the #1 overall seed, the collegiate giant of Overwatch, and they put up arguably the best fight they could. They almost won, right? So now, here's the thing. Their best matchup-wise would probably be against Harrisburg, because they've faced them numerous times before. They know what to expect from this team. They know how to prepare for that team better. The quote-unquote weaker opponent would be Illinois State, because they're the #3 seed compared to Harrisburg being 2. They just went up against the 1 seed and did so well. Harrisburg has beaten Illinois State numerous times in the past big majors that they've had. So either way, I think SCAD's ready to go. Savannah came out, they're not too far away from the venue, and they must have had some good Cajun food.
Full field advantage, man. We got our highs and our lows. We're talking about advantages and stuff. We're talking like terrible shoes versus like Cajun food. Like
they probably get to sleep in their own beds.
The battle of the weirdest placebos I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
The shoe doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, if something works for you, like I've worn these shoes in Overwatch League,
Boys
you cannot change it.
Yeah.
You don't change anything,
It's like
right?
bowling. Bowling and baseball. They're the two biggest, like, I did this on that day. I ate this before this game, and I hit 3 home runs. You know,
I can't believe this.
I'm gonna be wearing your headset. She's wearing.
Wait, why are you leaving?
Well, it's not even a matter of leaving. It's just the fact that like I can't really believe that they showed them at shoes like that. They were like speaking. Like they were like really just. Like,
they were also getting interviewed. The shoes were getting interviewed.
I can't believe
Are you
it.
telling me you don't have anything like that?
No,
that's
no,
like
I-
a good luck charm that's completely gross and worn out?
I definitely have one. You have one?
I do, but it's very weeb and very dorky. It's well, it's not necessarily a weeb. It's like it's
Well,
this
they
thing.
both
It's the
pull
necklace.
out
Yeah.
necklaces?
Yeah, it's the necklace. Yeah, it's the crucifix.
Mine is one of these is my dog tags, and one is my father's who passed away. So the other one of each is in his casket, and then I wear these ones. So he's always there with me. He's my good luck charm.
Wow, this got deep. Those are both less worn out than the shoes.
Yeah,
So-
these don't talk to me.
right.
I mean, they do, but it'd be weird if I said that. I'd be weird if I explained it.
All right, well, we were talking about this undefeated coach over here, and that is why you're retiring. So what would you coach the undefeated
Listen,
coach?
I look up to this guy. I want you to know that. I look up to all 3 of you, but this guy used to watch on RLCS, so.
Oh gosh.
Look, you know, this guy's got kids
What
wanting
are
to
your
take pictures
wise
with him.
words?
Honestly, I think in these types of circumstances, when you're a team in these moments, I always tell especially the kids that are out there, like cherish these moments. Esports careers go by so fast. You don't get to really enjoy these circumstances as much as possible. And they get so caught up in the competition and everything else. But like take a step back. Breathe it in. Like really enjoy this because it does go away very quickly. You also talk about like speaking fate into existence. People talk about like, when was it? How was it fate and stuff like that. I'm like, why not now? Why can't this be the moment you look back on 5 years from now and be like, yeah, that's where I got my start. That's when I broke in. And if you kind of like embody it and speak it into existence, I think it is making it something that is like mentally in the back of your head that kind of like propels you to that next level. Even if it is something that doesn't like come to fruition, it's enough to be like, I did do that thing, and it's that like core memory you'll unlock for years to come. So I think just enjoy it for what it is because it goes by quick.
We saw in Smash Brothers when we were playing earlier, we saw Sonics saying, yeah, you know, this win was kind of expected. Like, I knew they were going to make it a mistake. Yeah.
Oh,
Even though Javi put up a fight.
And I think that that's an example of what you're talking about, of having the right mindset. But I'm curious, I mean, we talk about it like it's easy to just be like, yeah, I've decided I'm going to win.
Never.
But what does that mean? Does that mean you just fake it until it's true? Or does that mean like you really start to believe it? What do you guys think? What would you tell people to gain that mindset?
I think it goes through a checks and balances. It's like, okay, you are the #1 seed. You guys have won 6 out of the last 10 majors. You guys are a team that primarily is known as the #1, and you did that through hard work and determination and everything else. And sometimes you can't do it for yourself, but you do it for your teammates. Like if I build up my teammate, the same thing. Like here, we are a team. We are here in this together in a very long production day, which we appreciate you guys all sticking along with us for all the breaks and everything else. Production back, working really hard. But it's like it's a collective effort. So by me building up my teammate, hopefully that's carrying through and going the other way. Like it is camaraderie at its finest, especially when you've got a roster of 6 people going crazy and all those abilities and flashing. It's a lot. Overwatch is a lot.
Yeah, I definitely would say, like, as a former competitor, like, from my perspective as well, is that, like, sometimes you go into it and you're just anxious, you know? Like, so, like, it doesn't matter, like, what sort of, like, ritual it is that you do. Sometimes you're just like, I'm just worried, right? But then as you play, things sort of melt away.
Well, I hope they do melt away. I hope hearts and minds are prepared. I hope shoes are lucky because it's time to get into this match. Let's play.
Thank you guys so much. It's about time we get back into it. I got to give a huge thank you, of course, for talking about the shoes. And you guys did a wonderful job talking a lot about Harrisburg. But I've got some beef. I just witnessed 3 people talk about Harrisburg and talk about Elf being in Overwatch League. Gig was in the Overwatch League too. Excuse you, this DPS lineup's just as cracked. They were talking about Lethal and Tap. I can't believe they're doing my boys Vision and Echo dirty.
I know.
There's a whole lineup here of just insanity. This match is going to be a banger.
I know, and the one thing that I was thinking about too is Gig, right? This is a player that we got the chance to talk to, and he is ready for this. He said, you know, in other words, a little bit of no more trolling. This is all serious. This is all business for this team, and they're ready to take the win. Yes, they've lost against Harrisburg before, but that's the motivation, right? To make a difference here.
Look, ISU's done playing. You mentioned not trolling. Very literally, they played Boise State earlier on. Barely won thanks to a very, very nice punch from Echo. Yeah. But outside of that, I think map 1 of that series, Gig went for a 360 shatter and was like, look, I respect having a little bit of fun, but I think they've realized there's some real competition.
It's a mix, right? It's a mix between having fun and actually, you know, making sure that you're playing your best. And that means getting serious and making sure that the communication is not all clutter, it's not all a mess to work with. So that the team, especially having, you know, 6 players to work with in Overwatch, you gotta make sure that it's clean. You gotta make sure that you're giving your best and you're giving the best performance that you can here, especially in a map like this one.
All right, we're starting things off on Control Center for the most intense match of the day thus far. It is inevitably going to be Reinhardt versus Reinhardt, a little bit of rush either way. The DPS are usually where we see a little bit of shifting coming out from either of these teams. Vision and Echo locking in the McCree, and Lethal and Tap doing the same on the other side. Good rollout for Gig. Now it's about taking space aggressively. Whoever can gain more is going to give their DPS a better position, but the initial mate walls as well are extremely important in these circumstances. Gig knows just how to play around it, as it's been his job for the longest of time. So in the backline actually just gets bap-dipped before any of that even matters. All Gig needs to do now is just hold space, swing at a call every once in a while, and they should be able to ride this one out.
They should be able to make this one work out. Yes, that first kill, that first Reinhardt kill was not coming from Gig, but he was able to make it up, and he was able to potentially get this percentage starting for the team in the other side, a little bit behind, but trying to catch up. And this is not something that we saw in the last match, right? And it's a map that we didn't get the chance to see, but it's one of those maps that can go back and forth and really highlight the role of this main tank player as they come up and as they get their shatters ready.
Yeah, we get a little swap in from Lethal. As we all know, when you're losing, swap Doomfist seems to work for a lot of these collegiate teams. Oh, catching a face full of wall, unfortunately. Now Vision trying to spot the teammates. Unfortunately, the Vision just isn't there. He'll only get one with that, but the ultimate advantage is enough to see them through.
And that's going to be a clean way to start this off. And everyone, you know, the analyst desk, us, and everyone that has been part of this tournament, they've been talking about Gig, they've been talking about this Reinhardt, probably the best Reinhardt that we have so far, has been doing a pretty good job of proving it. But now, what can the rest of the team do in a way that they're complementing each other? They can use the amplification early on, they can use amplification and a fire strike and see how that turns out for them.
Yeah, amplification matrix are going to get traded here, which is relatively normal here. Lethal getting a little poked out from the back line, but the big thing I'm looking at is how long it takes for Tap to throw this out, because the best zoning tool that they have to counter it is the bomb, but it's just not there in time. They're gonna have the sound barrier in response, and it is well timed by Liar. This allows a re-engage now, but now it's Zel's turn. They pop their own sound barrier, get the last slash, and this should be a pretty easy clean.
It should be a cleanup. It takes a couple losses, but it should be enough. I know they're investing on Ultimate Sue, the Blizzard coming up at the end, and it's a team that is committed to take this fight. At the end of the day, 70% and counting.
Hey, you know what? It was supposed to be the end of the fight, but if they're ready to get down and dirty, so be it.
Still going.
Contested 80%. Gig does not care one bit. He's got a shatter in his back pocket. But there's not a shield in the way. There's nothing to stop this. It's Akawa versus Gig. Immediately straps it down onto the Doomfist, flattened like a pancake. And the point just barely doesn't tick over the way of Harrisburg. They'll try and keep a contest here, but Gig zoned away now with the help of the Deadeye. Feels the hopes and dreams of Harrisburg slip out of their fingers.
And if there is something that tells you that a team is good and ready for a fight, there's gotta be the action of being able to come up in a fight like this one, being able to get the numbers advantage, and the last opportunity as well, one by one. The side of Harrisburg trying to touch the point, but it's not going to be possible. And again, and like I was saying, teams that they lose a couple members, they're able to still win the fight, especially in control point. It takes a lot of communication, it takes a lot of coordination as well, and this is something that Redbirds, they're already showing us.
Yeah, and let's be real with ourselves. Let's set our expectations to at least a certain point here. Is that's kind of the expected win map out of Lijiang. for Redbirds. You're not going to play anything but Rein there like 99% of the time for most teams. Now, though, you've got the chance to either go out inside, play a little bit of Gardens, or head things outside again to Night Market, where it's a little bit more flexible, and it's less likely that we see the extreme dives that we do on Gardens.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit more variety, right? And if you get to choose a map on the other side of Harrisburg, you're going to choose something that is not going to force you to play that Ryan, and it's got to be this one too, but still a pretty similar matchup, yeah.
Yeah, this is wild. There's an opportunity to play ball. You can play 6-man here. There's so many options, but Gig is still just running a train on him.
And there's less and less opportunities here. The more that it starts up and the more that Gig is able to pop off, trying to build that shatter too, but the rest of the team is there to give that support. And finally, a reset that we get to see as a point belongs once again to the side of Redbirds.
Yeah, easily taken over here. No swaps coming in. I mean, keeping the Symmetra lethals at 67% towards that ultimate, but it's not the most useful thing. The Amplification Matrix, actually, of RuPaul being 75% built up is probably the best thing that they've got going into this small hallway. The corridor makes it really, really difficult to avoid the damage that can come out from that, but Harrisburg know this. They make their push happen actually relatively quick, avoiding that critical ultimate before it's built. Now Echo, though, in the back line could cause even more problems. That Baptiste is very low and very, very vulnerable. Dropping a shatter on him will put Gig down into the dirt, but this one's tough. There's a lot of angles they have to contest, and Redbirds have this point completely surrounded.
And there's a couple scenarios, especially in Collegiate, where I'm very hesitant to see that Doomfist, right? But when it's in the hands of Echo, it's also supported by Vision as well, then it does look a little bit better, even though risky at times because you're diving in often by yourself and you're taking the risk of it getting taken down and being the opener for the enemy team. So now Echo going more into that Mei role, trying to support that front line and trying to get that opening duel that they were fighting for just to get to the summon.
And now, though, the ultimate's severely lacking. Pretty much only the Deadeye versus a Blizzard and a Shatter and a Bomb coming up for Harrisburg University. Very, very different arsenals that these teams are working with. One simply a handgun, the other one practically nuclear warfare at this point as they throw everything on the point. They have chosen the nuclear option. A boom will be attempted, but doesn't even need the connect, to be completely honest. Harrisburg just have more.
And this is one of those maps that if you are not able to cleanly win that fight, it's going to become a nightmare, and we got to see it, right? It's Liar getting the kill into tap, and it's a back and forth. That last map, the side of Harrisburg, they were not able to win it, and you're going to try to attempt it this time, but the point still belongs to the enemy.
I like this disengage from ISU, though. This is wise. They got as much percentage out of it as they could, leave the bridge, and just get back to it.
And it's a good opportunity as well for more coordination coming up for the side of Harrisburg now. They have a Shatter. They have 5 ultimates available, potentially 6. We gotta see what Cap is able to do in the next fight. And it's all down to the coordination to have the proper engagement. It's something that we've seen for the side of Redbirds before, but it's a little bit difficult, like I said, in a map like this one, when the enemy team knows exactly where you're coming from.
Both teams popping fire strikes. One of them is stuck in a hallway, though. A little bit more uncomfortable for Harrisburg, if we're being honest. They're gonna have to pop the bomb to zone away for this one, just get the remake, get the health back up on the Diva, but now there's a real engagement. Kawa has a Shatter, and it's got all of ISU's name on it. Can Gig hit the block? This is the question we're asking all of ourselves now. Start to approach the point. Kawa, shield up, both Reinhardt's effectively playing a game of chicken. The Blizzard's going to apply even more pressure on these teams. It's a winter wonderland. A solo Shatter is going to be the prize onto a Diva, but they're still one up. Gig has it, but keeps it. Decides it's better to save it for a rainy day.
And now it's when that disengagement is gotta be the most risky one, but again, you gotta make happen. Echo once again going to the Doomfist. You're trying to find a win condition here, and it's gonna be this Doomfist going into the backline, putting that pressure and hoping to get that kill with the support of the Diva as well. But it's not going to be easy, right? Because that percentage might be even by the time we get to see that next fight.
We just handshake Doom Swap, which is one of the weirdest things ever. It really is just like the meme of the guy like slapping the buttons. It's like losing, Doomfist. Seems to be their solution every single time. Ryan's on the ground, though. It does feel awful when there's a Deadeye on the other side. Great immortality will keep him up and in the fight. Akawa, though, getting big in the tanks in the backline, diving with Divio, taking down Echo and Gig. Now disarmed. This team doesn't stand a threat.
And that's a beautiful job by this Diva here. 90%, and the opportunities once again
close.
On the side of Redbirds are fading away. You have a chance to touch here, but this is going to be the last one, and they can't seem to find an opening. Once again, changing heroes.
All right, it's a nice touch. Great job by Liar getting in, but who's got the next shot? Not sure. There's a Diva barely contesting. Nicely done. Good job by Reacted. It's still 5v6, but it's not the best they can ask for. The Shatter. Oh, that's a bummer. Gets knocked up. It's an easy block on the other side. React. Oh my god, React eats the Blizzard. They've got a shot at this. King lived on point. By the grace of God, keeps his life. Or better yet, RuPaul now using the sound barrier to re-engage and make sure they can do it. Even blocks the Shatter for a cherry on top. Did I hear right? Gap, ladies and gentlemen.
There's no possible way they make this one happen. Out of nowhere, they lose one player, but they come back with the kills. They come back with Gig in the front, and they're able to stand a chance. It's still 99, though. It still belongs to the side of Harrisburg.
I mean, it's messy, but it's better than the point being won already, I suppose. Gig going down, though, does spell bad news. Bears here for our resident Redbirds. In comes RuPaul to try and save the day, but Lethal does have the deciding ultimate here. Almost up to a sound barrier. That could be a decider. Vision trading one back as the revet comes in. More tanks on the point right now, though, for Harrisburg. Does spell a pretty defeating end unless you can turn this one around. But React, unable to remake, just gets knocked out of it. It's too much pressure despite ISU's Herculean efforts towards the end there. It's just not going to be enough. We're going to a map 3.
They almost made it happen, right? It was a really good opening in the hands of Gig as well, working together for that proper engagement where they took different angles as well, and they were able to target those supports. But again, if there's a map that can really become a nightmare, there's got to be this one, and it's got to be for this exact reason that over time it seems like it lasts forever. It never seems to end. But then again, looking at these two teams, looking at the stakes today in this winner's bracket, we are expecting even those control maps to take us to 3.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised, though. I mean, we talked about the Ryan v. Ryan, how Gig was kind of getting the better of it. But talking to ISU earlier, I had kind of conjectured that we'd see a lot more ball from Harrisburg. They seem like the team that's best at it here. It seems well up their alley. They played plenty of it during OWCC. And, you know, even talking to them, they said they were comfortable on it. But now we're seeing the mirrors.
Whoa.
And you know what? This is exactly what ISU was saying. ISU thought they were going to mirror, but it just feels like such a weird choice considering how a lot of these fights are going.
And it's going to be a complete mirror composition that would start with. So that TPE probably got there at the same time. We didn't get the chance to see it, but it's going to be the fight at the end of the day. Won by the side of Redbird, still trying to contest it a little bit longer, and Gig actually does go down.
Yeah, Gig's just a little over-aggressive there. Doesn't respect the Symmetra damage. Immortality feels from both sides kind of whiff, but it's okay because Lethal comes in to clean up the point.
So it's a point that never really fully belonged to Redbird. That was a perfect opportunity, but a recontest now. There's got to be a reset happening now. Yeah, now they realize that everyone one by one just get taken down inside of Redbirds, and now it's got to be that space control, the name of the game that we see next from HU Storm, to see if they stand a chance into this one. They didn't take that point first in that last map that we got to see. Now they changed the narrative a little bit more.
All right, now we play the awkward game of chicken where there's 2 Symmetras on the field. You can hold point and risk giving all the space away, or you can hold forward and risk getting teleported behind. Nothing personal, kid, but Lethal's going to be the one going down from behind. Eiko finds a nice route and now gets to try and attempt his life on the support. The Kawa going down because the supports are under pressure from Eiko, and this whole house of cards just comes crumbling down.
One by one, they do get taken down for this one, and see opening. Finally, the point control as well. That doesn't get as messy as that Gardens map. It's cleaner, and it looks better for this team. Now, it's all about Gig's aggression, right? It's the only shield that you have right now, and you're relying so much on Gig to know how to make the calls when he's going to push forward and when he's going to be playing on point. As we saw on the other side, teams are usually pushing forward, but you recognize that the Symmetra is a risk to take.
Symmetra does remain a threat, though. The teleporter offers a free for the Reinhardt should they need it, but it's almost being taken down. Lethal now the back line looking for a flank right here. Is going to increase the pressure on Gig. Gig understands it, backs up into the Immortality field, and then pushes right back out, counter-attacking into the likes of Okawa. It's a dead even fight, though, as a majority of it's going on outside. Lethal just looking for an opportunity, barely is able to keep himself off the edge of the map, but at the end of the day, it's Harrisburg coming out on top. The target prioritization just better.
And there's one key here is that we see one of the sides being able to use that amplification matrix. The other side has a user, Ropal still waiting for it, about to have it ready. And there's a perfect opportunity to open up the fight to create that space that the side of HU Storm is going to try to hold for so long. But because of the percentage it's so even, there's more opportunities for Gig and for Ropal to work together into this one.
Holding forward now. This punch is always obnoxious. Gig just gets absolutely beamed down, but is kept alive by the Immortality field of RuPaul. We'll see if that continues to be the case as The Immortality Field goes away, and Gig still just on single-digit health is kept up. It gives Vision the time now to build up the beam to start to dish out the damage. We're microwaving people on point. It's like little meals that you take to lunch, but he's cooking them right on up.
And this is getting scary. That self-destruct that we hear just goes back, doesn't take too much damage, just to try to get to that mech again, but it's not going to be the case again. The opportunities are not many. It's going to be another 90% happening, another amplification, another sound barrier, and both support ultimates should be enough to get the benefit for Harrisburg.
Oh, there's the shadow they were looking for, though. Just shutting down Gig in his tracks. Echo down as well. Lethal will attempt the life of the backline, but with RuPaul having to focus on this Doomfist, he's not focusing on healing his team. We've got bigger problems at hand, ladies and gentlemen. Liar, on the other hand, though, is still there to heal the rest of the team, and is doing a pretty good job of dishing out damage. So much so that Elk actually has to pop his sound barrier in order to keep this one going. It's a 99%, though, and they will do everything in their power to hold on to this point, including throwing out this Diva Bomb. Divio tries to hold on. In fact, gets Echo in the meantime. That might have just sealed the deal.
And that is going to do it for map number 1. Is going to be HU Storm getting away. The intense map, it was going back and forth, but I love to see, I think the last fight, right, is a perfect resume of the level of Elk and Gig, right? The fight opens up with Gig getting 2 kills, but Elk is able to stay alive throughout it, is able to use that sound barrier, keep the team alive, and make sure that when they're coming back, when they're trying to take down the side of Redbirds, it is actually going to be possible. And this is the 2 players that we talked about, right? Overwatch League, we got to hear from them in their interview, and this is exactly the level that we expected for them, especially in a map number 1.
Yeah, I think you brought up a fantastic point there, though, in that, right, re-enabling the team to catch that engage, but the fact that these fights have been going so long just speaks to the ability of these teams, and more importantly, the support line. Soames, Elk, RuPaul, and Liar. It's a battle of attrition, and more than anything else. These guys are not making mistakes. They're simply lasting a little bit longer than one another in each of these fights, and it's difficult because you've got the likes of Echo and Lethal flying around on Doomfist, threatening your life at any given point in time. It's a complete... Their job is basically just to be a walking anxiety attack and keep the team alive at the same time. I don't know how they do it.
And it's just really understanding your job, right? What we saw from Elk was absolutely insane. Just being able to stay alive while your team was taking so much damage. You were potentially getting taken down. He backs up. He makes sure that the team is protected enough. And then he uses that sound barrier when the next and the last re-engagement is taking place. That is really what makes it different into a map. That was, and again, it was just going back and forth. Gig was slowly finding an answer, but he gets shot down in the best way possible. This is, you know, the 2 teams that we wanted to see for so long, and I love how competitive they're keeping it up.
And you can see, I mean, some of these plays were absolutely ridiculous. I got to give a shout out to React eating that blizzard, allowing Gig to pop off later, and that was absolutely absurd. We have to note, React is coming in, playing a different role than usual. They did lose, I believe, their off-tank from prior Iron, someone who I had a huge amount of respect for, and React has come in filling big shoes, eating some ridiculous stuff, and enabling them. And over on the side of Harrisburg, it's by and large been just full-on team game for them. They've been so coordinated, they've been on top of their ultimates, and they've been really keeping on top of these long fights and making sure that their target prioritization, target focus doesn't ever get lost in the mess that Rush can create.
It's definitely a mess, and then we saw it in the last match. We're definitely going to continue seeing it here because these 2 teams, it's also the conversation about respect, right? Both of them, they really respect each other, but they are also comfortable in their own abilities, which means that they're willing to take risks without having all 6 members committing into a fight. Even when they lose their main tank, you still see this side of Redbirds trying to take that fight, and in some cases actually making it work out.
Yeah, I think it's really impressive. All the top 3 teams, something they've been really, really fantastic at, is being judges of when have we actually lost these fights? When do we stand a chance? I think there was an impressive display on Gardens in particular from ISU where they did lose Gig, but Gig was in a position where his team was totally surrounding the point. In order to get Gig, you had to walk into a 4-man crossfire that the DPS and supports had set up, and it was just a death trap above all else. So it's not necessarily baiting so much as it is just understanding the give and take. Hey, if you want this player, we'll put him in a position where you can kill him, but it's going to cost you something.
And I do have a question about what is going to happen next when it comes to the DPS role, because we've seen quite a lot of Doomfist, and it works really well, but it doesn't seem like it's something that you can keep keep playing over and over again, right? The more that you play the Doomfist, the more that off tank is going to try to catch you up and is going to try to take you down. That is why we saw some changes throughout that map. And as we move into other maps, that possibility of Doomfist is still going to be there, but it's going to be a risk factor to take into account.
I mean, I think Eiko's just taking out some previous anger on the opposing side. I heard in their Boise match, Matt Merck, word for word, Boise's main tank, told Eiko that he was targeting him on Doomfist. He told the entire team to turn and focus that singular Doomfist, and I'll be honest, I was watching the game, Eiko did not look like he was having that much fun. He looks like he's having a lot more fun now.
And I love to see that, right? Players having the best time possible in a match like this one, and knowing that it can be so intense, and it's two teams that we definitely know of. If you followed that collegiate scene in Overwatch, you're talking about these two teams. I think Redbird, they've been through a good amount of players that have been part of their roster. One that we saw last year, that a lot of these players now move into Overwatch League, and we see a little bit of backwards, right? Where there's going to be Gig here, and it's going to be stepping up for a team like this one and supporting everyone else that has been in contenders, that has been in collegiate, to make a team that's so even and so willing to take a victory and to take risks that are going to turn on into something better.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I thought Harrisburg was taking a risk trying to mirror those rush compositions, but I'll tell you what else. We're almost definitely getting more of them. We're heading on to Kings Row for map number 2. The gauntlet's been laid down. We're playing Ryan all day, baby.
And I love to see Reinhardt is one of those heroes that I never get tired of seeing. There's just so much variety that you can bring, especially the DPS, and that is going to be the question. I don't think we're going to see too much of a Zarya. The Reinhardt D.Va seem to be working better for both of the teams as we've gotten the chance to see, but the DPS is the one area where there's variety. It can be the Doomfist, it can also be the Cassidy too, helping out quite a lot, but it can also be a Tracer in a map like this one.
Well, there's a pretty big gap between these teams. Watching back the VODs and even just talking to them, it's no secret that ISU prefers a very different brand of dive, or brand of Reinhardt. Oh my goodness, we're not getting it. Okay, we'll talk about that in a sec. We'll go over the minutia of ISU's composition. They're likely going to be playing Hanzo Sigma or change things up. It could be May Cassidy, especially after seeing the ball, but on the other side, Ball Sigma.
Yeah. It's a defensive composition that is hard to synergize with, right? But it's a team that can definitely do it. It's a team that can play to a high level. It just requires a wrecking ball for Akawa being a complete nightmare to the backline.
Oh, they've spotted the enemy composition. They know exactly what they're walking into. They swapped Double Shield to counter. Double Shield is the perfect counter into specifically Hanzo Torb. A lot of times on 2CP, on Assault type game modes, we saw stuff like Hanzo Torb, Ash Torb, fantastic from this high ground when you could just put them up with a Sigma and let them do their thing, but it's up to the ball to keep the point pressure alive, to make sure they're not taking up percentage, which they are right now. ISU currently nearly up at 1, taking it back and taking the supports out from under them. There's no chance now.
It's a really good composition. It's a really good read as well to make something like that one happen and make the changes necessary to adapt into and to read the enemy this way, right? It's a wrecking ball that who is he going to go to, right? And the backline is pretty much all protected by this double shield that is so aware of that possibility. And then you have the Mercy and Echo playing together and making sure that both of them are synergizing actively, getting that point control, and now going to the street phase where look at where they are now.
Yeah, Harrisburg leaning into it, saying, you know what, you want a double shield mirror, you want cringe either way, we got cringe either way. Gig and React just swallowed their pride to start things out. They said, you know what, you're going to play Ball Sigma, we got a perfect counter, and it worked out beautifully. Now they got to get through this choke, though, which is much easier said than done.
Yeah, with this composition, now is when it gets a little bit harder to make it work out, and now knowing especially the side of Harrisburg, they know this composition, they know this double shield, and it's hard to deal with, it's hard to make it fast too.
I hope you like spamming and shooting at shields, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to be doing a lot of it here for the next few minutes. Trying to find a nice angle. Tap gets in there, but eventually the spam does connect through. Paul finds Tap in the pub, and not much else can be said about it. Dragon's actually going to cut off the remaining players here. That's a beautiful zoning Dragon to keep them out of the fight. Now Eiko can come back in, clean up the kills, and they head forward.
And because it's such a low composition too, you're relying on utility, you're also relying on ultimates like we see from the amplification that is creating enough space to pass that corner to win the fight and to also force those dragons to get that value in that space that is needed. So it turns into something so much bigger, so much better, and with 4 minutes, it's just all about the map continuing to belong to the team.
Yeah, as we start to see the real effect of Eiko's Echo, though, as I say it goes down to lethal. But Eiko's Echo, extremely well renowned. With the Atlanta Rain picking up speedily from contenders, I would argue Eiko's just definitively the best Echo in contenders now. It is a very scary thing to play into on an off angle, so you need tracers like that to take it down. And of course, with that one-man advantage, they're able to go ahead and continue that into a full fight.
And a good opening here, finally, that was found on the side of Harrisburg. It seems like they took them a couple minutes here, but they make it happen into a street phase. And what it matters the most, forcing this composition to a double shield, having a supercharger available to use next, and having even more of that corner control that can be so risky in an area like this one. So that's why you see those off angles trying to take place with the Echo.
Fire now flying above. They've got all the space back that they could ask for. The problem is with the trace in your back line. Lethal is really threatening here to do some damage. It's up to Liar to keep the appropriate people alive. They're putting so much into this. Yet Akawa holds firm with the help of Transcend. It's going to be even more so. Immortality Field is the only thing that's on the other side to answer, yet somehow everybody's kept alive. The Valkyrie is just enough. And now the last laugh will be had by React. The final ultimate on the board. He picks him up, and ladies and gentlemen, what must go up must come down. Divio falls.
And with that, it seems like the rest of the team and this defense is going to be falling one by one. And this Echo making such a good job, making sure that it's going to be happening for the last supports alive. But again, so much time remaining, right? Second point, third point now with over 4 minutes to work with. And with such a good synergy to work with, now Lethal also getting taken down into that one.
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, this was already a fight that was going to be predicated on aggressive ultimates. You've got Dragon and Dupe up for one, you've got Grab Flux and Dupe up for another. There's nothing to keep these teams alive. It's only about damage. Following up that damage, which more damage, is Eiko, who comes in with a focusing beam to finish off the remainder of that health bar. In fact, duplicating just at the edge of health as well to keep themselves alive. This is a dangerous push that very well could end in victory.
And we talked so much about the Reinhardt, but it's now been all about the Orizas making a difference and trying to create that space a little bit slower, but making it happen with a duplicate. He turned into 2 Orizas as well. Even more of a nightmare to deal with, even with a supercharger available. But look at the trades as well. A defense that is trying to put up a fight, but it doesn't seem to be enough.
No, this is nuts. That was a sick flank. Divio and Soames walked along the backline to find an advantageous position. They get a wrap and are able to poke the team apart from behind thanks to the time that was bought by their Orisa.
And those plays, right? Those set plays with a composition like this one, it's what's giving the difference and the variety that they need to stay alive and to stay into a fight like that one. Now, Echo switching into the Ashe, and an Ashe that we haven't gotten the chance to see today, but an Ashe that he can play to such a high level. We've gotten the chance to see it, and with those bobs, even more pressure that goes to the payload.
I mean, Echo's just a nut on anything you put him on. Let's
be
completely honest.
He does everything.
That guy's a monster. Amplification Matrix is forward, though, and it's Tap finding the better of React this time. Amplification will be used by Tap to keep themselves alive in the midst of all that.
Yeah.
Shoot down, though. A little tricky here. It looks like it's on back foot, though. I don't think ISU can do much here. They don't have the space to work with. Eiko's stuck in a corner here. Nothing to really shoot at. Despite not losing all their players, it is just too uncomfortable of a situation to realistically continue until you get your tanks back, which they should be getting in a second here.
I got a little confused for a second. That was like Genji being played and still being committed into this fight and into what is the rest of this point. That, I mean, the payload stopped. It's moving back. So the defense, what they're doing here is working. Now they have a rally next to initiate and a flux. Both ultimates should be enough to stop and delay to even 1 minute.
We haven't even addressed the elephant in the room. There's a Genji here. We'll talk about that later. Lethal's in, and Lethal looks a little angry. Dashing in, trying to find their finishing bits of those health bars. Nice to flex to keep himself alive, but by and large, it's all off the back of that grab flux.
And we saw it for 1 fight. Now we see it for 2 fights. This Genji is being committed, and he is about to have the ultimate. He's about to have the blade and ready to pop off. Yes, there's no nano, but there's a rally, so he should be enabled enough to get a couple kills here.
Vision, oh my, with the Mercy Pocket? Vision was pocketing! My man just got the whole smoke! 9 hours, a nice medium rare, the whole kebab. Goodness gracious!
Lethal is capable of building another ultimate here, though. That's the thing. And that is a scary thing to deal with. Even with so many ultimates available now on the side of Redbirds, they're slowed down, they stop, they can get away. Lethal, they have so much support. Might be... Yeah, I got really low, but no, he's fine.
Just barely gets out by the skin of his teeth. Now Lethal smells more blood in the back line. Oh, you know what? Lethal's smelling his own blood back there. I'm starting to think. Maybe there's a reason most people aren't playing Genji anymore.
I was expecting many things from that fight, but it was not that Genji. And it was not that Genji getting taken down the way that he did. He's still committing though, and I respected it. I mean, it worked out. You gotta commit it. You already have 30%, has the potential to build another blade. And again, he might not have the best support, but it should be enough.
Ooh, that's a nice bob. It stops the supports from really holding themselves up here. It forces Harrisburg to deal with it before anything else. And Lethal Will that's taking time out the pocket. Has lost a lot of space. Gig playing really aggressively. Is going to cut Akawa off from his heels with his own shield. Really, really nice play by the main tank from ISU, who's now boarded up. All they have to do is steal this one out. Staying safe and alive. Lethal's not really able to get much damage into the shield with help in Immortality Field. It becomes that much more difficult. Tap will throw in a duplicate to try and save the day here, but the best you can do is try and buy time for spawns, which really isn't much.
I mean, in the overtime, it is going to be ISU being able to complete that map. I mean, that was absolutely intense. A Genji that we got to see, the variety as well, the Orisas as well making a difference. But at the end of the day, is that last fight that matters the most, and it's also what we are often seeing in this map.
Yeah, and I want to tell you the story of the past 2 times that I've watched ISU play on Kings Row, both in Overwatch Collegiate Championship and up against Boise State earlier. They came out. They played the attacking side. They set a decent enough time, about a minute time bank heading into what would be overtime. And then the other team comes out on attack and just smokes them for like ridiculous pace. And it's been a consistent thing. The attacks always look good from ISU here, but it's the defenses that I think look by far the most shaky for them.
And again, I think it goes back to something that I mentioned earlier, is that this team is really good at starting engagements. They're really good at communicating and counting 3, 2, 1, we're going in. But when it comes to the mid-fight and the end of the fights, that's when things get a little messy for this team. They cannot clean it up fast enough. So hopefully they're able to fix it and to make it at least close. I want to see another round of Kings Row. I mean, we're going to be seeing second, potentially third with that overtime that we got to see at the end.
All right, we're back onto the Ryan conf. And I think this is really interesting. Vision bringing out specifically a Cassidy alongside Echo's May. Like I said, lately ISU's been playing a lot of the poke rush. They've been playing a lot of the Hanzo Sigma. Seeing this defense, it's not surprising, but I do, honestly, I prefer the look from them personally.
And there's got to be a change, It's Reinhardt. Yeah, you know that you got to bring in. Before the fight starts, perfect opportunity to use it. Lethal as well on the Doomfist too, and ready to go in.
I mean, call it ego, call it what you will. Harrisburg will match them. Any composition ISU wants to play, Harrisburg says anything you can do, I can do better. I'm not sure that's the case, so Echo has hit quite the wall, or rather Tactires. And it's now difficult to move forward. Gig holding their space, though, as Lethal tries to find something along the back line. Last time we saw this, the death of them was a Doomfist punch through this exact hotel, but React's doing a fantastic job of monitoring that back line, making sure there's not a flank, and now it's Echo just making sure that Akawa's having the worst time. Doesn't get to play Reinhardt at all. Forget that kid. Akawa just got pushed back, held back by a tiny little lady with an ice beam, and then just taken down. That guy didn't get to play the game at all. That was miserable.
And I got to see Europa popping off a little bit too, which is always nice to see. Amplification taking advantage of that positioning as well, and making sure that everyone is taken down. We see 2, now 3 disconnects, and it seems like we're going to have a pause as well.
Wow, they beat them so bad it knocked them out of the server.
Wow.
That's incredible. That's got to be the best play of the day. Do we get an instant replay for that? I'm not sure.
Everyone just disconnecting one by one. They're like, yep, that's it.
Yeah, sometimes just not your Overwatch day. And you know what? I'm thinking it's our Overwatch day. It's still a good game. It's been fantastic.
It's been great. And it's the 2 teams that we wanted to see, right? It's 2 teams that have been at the top. They have been number 1 and number 2 in so many scenarios. And it's 2 teams that we already know these colleges. We already know, even if they keep a little bit of variety sometimes with the players that they're bringing in, it's still, you have the trust that they're bringing the best.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to see Harrisburg not playing ball. I really thought they were going to want to do it, but they're just mirroring everybody, which is crazy, because every single team that has faced ISU up until yet has laid down the gauntlet. They've said, you know what? We're all going to play Rush, and we're all going to play Rush against Gig. And Gig has just smacked them down one by one like they just don't even matter. It's been a little tougher here. Akawa's holding his own, but I think even more so than that, the team is doing a fantastic job of enabling Akawa. It's really a whole 6-man operation to try and take on Gig, but you know what? If that's what it takes, so be it.
It requires the proper synergy communication as well, that it's so difficult to get to. But when you are committed, when you have a goal there, you're going to make it happen.
Yeah, they've done their best. Harrisburg seemingly lost power on their side. It's just bad luck at that point. They fragged a little too hard. They gamed a little too good. Happens to the best of us, you know. My power regularly goes out when I play Reinhardt. Look.
Really?
What can I say? I'm in leagues with the best.
Right. And how does that work exactly? So it goes out and then.
I don't know. It's usually something to do with my cat just clicking on the power switch. But
that's crazy.
I think my cat just feels bad for the other team.
It feels bad, just a little bad. I mean, you know, the good thing about the C teams that I actually do want to talk about though is the fact that we've talked about so many players, right? And that is the highlight. Every single player has something to bring to the table that no other team can, I feel like, can really compare to, especially as this is the winners bracket. This is teams that have not been taken down, that they're taking advantage, and the reason why is because they've been playing together for a decent amount of time. They've been able to get a good amount of practice, and they're able to get, like I said, a team, a college that is able to get the best players possible.
And both these colleges have historically put up fantastic teams. I mean, ISU undoubtedly losing 4 players to the Overwatch League. It's bittersweet. You hate to see them go, but you're pretty proud of your program, if nothing else. Harrisburg, on the other hand, have been competitive practically throughout the entirety of Overwatch since they got right back into it. And I think we should really appreciate what actually starts to happen and how these games start to go to those extreme lengths that we're seeing them go, because the difference between these teams are minimal. They've been playing these comps for years and years and years now. They know exactly how it works. These players are barely making any mistakes. So I want to kind of go, while we have time and while I suspect this to be a little bit before we get to it, to just break down what each of these roles has to do in a rush versus rush mirror. We'll start from the sports, because I think those, I mentioned it earlier, by far the most stressful job in Overwatch, trying to keep someone like Gig alive.
I mean, and we got to see it too, right? It was that first map, Gig going in, and that was the one time where we definitely recognized that he was going in a little bit too aggressive, but it was able to work out at the end, and that is how he's opening up these fights constantly, over and over again, is Gig making sure that he is not overextending, that he's able to have the rest of the team behind him and able to support him to get those kills, to get the shatters so fast, because if there's a team that can get shatters and that can get ultimates fast, it's gotta be this one.
It's funny, I was talking to an Overwatch League coach not but a couple months ago about playing Reinhardt and what your real goals are in playing it at a high level. And it was funny, he described it as your main goal in a rush composition is to stress test your supports. Get as much out of them as you can.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, you have to push them to the limits. You have to push as far as you can and use every last bit of resource that they're giving you. And hats off, of course, to Elk, Soames, Lyre, and RuPaul, who have just been on top of everything. Sound barriers, bang on. Every immortality field is hitting just absolutely perfectly. I've seen people kept alive through some of the most ridiculous stuff, and the rest of these teams are keeping these tanks alive and powering this game through pretty much all of it. Powering this broadcast, though, has been the death, so let's go ahead and get their opinions on the match.
I would love to take credit for powering the broadcast, but actually, Control, Barbasol, Oakley, so many other fantastic sponsors. That's what's powering it. But these players are powering our hearts.
Absolutely.
What has this game been like for you, Fawn?
So on King's Row, which is super interesting, is there was a highly contested point fight before we actually ended up scoring through the end of game 2, right? On King's Row, there was a fight that was actually happening that was centered around a very contested point, because this is actually a very big point. I have mentioned it before on King's Row that you have a lot of maps, a lot of different perspectives that you have to take that are like, a lot of them are choke points, right? Making it past that first objective, like that's like chump change, right? Like you're gonna capture that first point most of the time. Like it's something that people are easy to concede, because typically the push after that is a long trek. So pushing all the way until the second capture is actually a big deal, because then the point fight sort of opens up, right? This is more so of the control point, but this was in game 1. This was actually something that I actually really enjoyed like seeing, because of the fact that it really has the situational pick of Mei. Once again, like I had mentioned that Mei was a pretty strong situational pick earlier, but in a map like this where you're worried about control point, her Blizzard really covers a lot of that objective. So it contests things like that. D.Va as well. You see that they try and combo right there. They have the Blizzard, they have the D.Va bomb. There's a lot of things that you have to keep in mind and keep track of, which is why these characters are so strong on certain situations. I also mentioned it earlier. map picks are pretty important, right? Going to certain maps provides a lot of utility, provides a lot of different character picks as well, and it overall, well, that was actually a really, really good Blizzard, because it forces them off of the point, forces sound barrier, and that McCree, exactly, gets walled off. It makes it so difficult for them to do anything about that, and it burns down an ultimate, which is phenomenally played. Both of these teams have been playing really, really well, actually.
What about you?
I always love seeing Lijiang Tower being played because normally in Control is kind of like King of the Hill, and in most games where you see King of the Hill, it's usually like a rectangle or a square, and on Lijiang Tower we got 2 circles. And it's really interesting to see not just the teamwork, but the tank play specifically on those maps, how those tanks try and survive, how they try and stay alive for as long as possible. And that, I was a tank main, so I appreciate a good tank player out there whose job is literally to try and stay alive. Your job is to block damage and to just not die. And sometimes if your support players are going down, that gets even more difficult for you. And the tank play for Illinois State, going into game 2 on Kings Row, they pushed the cart all the way. Granted, they have no time left on the clock, so if we go to overtime, they're going to have 1 minute, and that's tough to handle. But the tank play from Gig and React was beautiful. They used the Sigma, they used the Orisa, and they had that Mercy pocket behind them, 2 big shields to hide behind for that free support healing. And it's really hard to play Mercy in a competitive setting, I think, because either she's really good or she's really bad. Like, either she's going to do a lot of healing or she's going to get smoked. And you have 2 tanks out there. Gig, again, I mean, no shade to the Illinois State team, but we had to leave the cast or something to talk about that there, So Gig was an Overwatch League player as well, and like I said earlier, probably the best collegiate Reinhardt right now. Or if you're doing anything they're doing on Reinhardt, you're doing it right. But we saw them playing Sigma, which is kind of like a Reinhardt that can float in the sky and use a movable shield instead of having to hold it. So when you see that kind of play from your 2 double shield tanks, and you see a Mercy who can keep them alive for so long, even when Lethal's on Genji, killing people through a Mercy pocket, it's okay, because there's 2 big tanks up front that are playing very beautiful with their shields and using that Mercy pocket to the best of their advantage.
I know that the main concern you had was whether or not our casters would keep growing or shrinking. How are you feeling?
When it cut to Endora's sitting down, like, I think he was just happy. He's like, I get to sit. Like, this is a bit. It's
what are you
funny.
talking about? He was standing.
Oh yeah, true. He's just always been that short.
Yeah. There's some Alice in Wonderland stuff going on over there. We were talking a little bit about the teams that are kind of waiting in the wings, watching these teams compete, trying to decide who they're going to be playing against, looking for those weaknesses, as you mentioned. What do you think those teams are thinking? Are they happy about these outcomes? Are they seeing anything? Do you see anything you would point out to them?
Well, like I said in the pre-show leading up to this matchup, is Harrisburg is very bad on escort defense. I mean, not very bad. That's an understatement. That's kind of over.
An understatement.
Yeah, not an understatement.
They're really bad.
Yeah, it's kind of overstated. It's kind of, it'd be mean a little bit, but tough love out there. But they're pretty bad. I mean, they just gave up 3 straight points. Granted, they did suck all the time off the clocks. That's the one thing they have going for them. They play better on offense here than they do defense. So if they can push this payload in and they can leave some time in the bank, they're going into overtime with a little bit of a cushion. They know they can play enough good defense to hold someone off for a minute off of the Kings Row capture point. But if I'm SCAD and I'm saying, okay, if we're going to go up against Illinois State, we know what we can do offensively because Harrisburg can do it perfectly and we can just imitate what they do. But also they're pretty bad on defense, so we know how to do that. All we got to do is really take it to them on the control. If we can beat them on Ilios or Lijiang Tower or wherever else we need to go against them, maybe take them to a map they're not particularly fond of playing. If you can pull those tricks out of your bag and say, okay, let's take game 1. If you can take game 1, then you've set yourself up nicely against Harrisburg. If you have to go against Illinois State, then you're thinking, okay, let's just play really good attack against them because that's how Harrisburg will beat them, right? And then for Northwood, they're just saying there's a technical delay or there's a game timeout, whatever it is, so we get a little bit more time to rest up. We're ready to go. We get to be ourselves once again.
Do you agree, Fawn?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Blue is saying. I think what's super interesting as well is that you had mentioned the aspect of having a double shield tank. And I put a lot of emphasis on that that consideration behind Moira, that Lucio, that Baptiste. But Orisa is another one of those extremely strong characters that's actually super good on King's Row push. I think that actually enables offense extremely well. You have her matrix it is that you can use when you have your ultimate, boosts all the damage of everyone that's around you in that vicinity.
That's why Northwood won.
Right.
Versus Scat
exactly.
at the end of Route 66. They threw down the, the boosted damage from Orisa and just, I mean, it hit all 6 players. All 6 players were getting damage amped. So that's a lot of damage. You can't, you can't double shields against that. It doesn't matter after a few seconds.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you heard it here first from Blue. You know, the best way to win is to kill people, right? And I entirely agree with that.
Thanks, Sean.
I entirely agree with that. I definitely think that is, you know, like an effective strategy, because like all jokes aside, like Orisa does have that sustainability. She does have what other tanks don't, and that is the ability to negate CC. Right, so you can't be charged by Reinhardt. You can't really be knocked out of the way or booted by Lucio, provided that you have the cooldowns to enable you in that way, right? Which provides her to be such a prominent character on King's Row, because I mentioned it before. King's Row is a map, especially after that first CP, that you're dealing with a lot of these choke points, a lot of these really narrow alleyways. The fights are happening all over the place, but regardless of where they're fighting, the areas are typically small. So big ultimates like Blizzard, I mean, like even like Hanzo Dragons, like there's a lot of things that you have to consider when you're pushing along that pathway, because it can really, really make the difference. I think Orisa is a great contender for a character that you might need to pick on King's Row.
This has been a great match so far. We're just waiting on the help from our amazing production team that has been supporting us all day to get the match started again. But supporting them is also our sponsors, who have been fantastic. Remember, you can help the LLS mission even if you're not a streamer. You can scan the QR code to donate to LLS's Raid for Research campaign. Thank you so much for that good work that you and they are doing to fight cancer. Now, we will take a quick break, but we will be back with more Overwatch for you, so stay tuned.
Looking for a new job? Your local McDonald's restaurants are hiring now with career development opportunities, competitive wages, paid time off, flexible schedules, and perks such as employee meal program, tuition assistance, and a free college degree program. Start building your future today at careers.mcdonalds.com. That's careers.mcdonalds.com.
Worried about your friend, but don't know how to reach out?
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR, it's all good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health.
Whatever gets you talking.
Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
So you want to join the war against cancer? Well, good news, creators. Now you can fight back while you stream. Thanks to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, the world's largest nonprofit in the war against blood cancer.
Do they always have to go bigger?
Come back.
I always come back.
Barbasol, limited edition collector's cans. In stores now. Capture them all before they're gone. See the movie. Rated PG-13.
I always loved video games growing up. I knew that I had a talent. I worked tirelessly to game, to stream, so I'm talking about produce content, not only to keep the fans happy, but to set the standard. Why we call him one of the best players on the game right now. So that the next kid coming up will see the work and want to push harder, and maybe even further.
The Collegiate Esports Commissioner's Cup is presented by Microsoft CW. Barbasol. Go to barbasol.com/Dominion to see all the limited edition Jurassic cans. New Street. New Street helps you navigate the collectibles markets with confidence. Visit newstreet.com to find out more. McDonald's. Download the McDonald's app for exclusive deals and easy ordering. McDonald's, I'm loving it. And by the U.S. Air Force. See if you can command the stack in the U.S. Air Force's award-winning augmented reality flight experience mobile game available in the App Store. In partnership with CSMG, transforming traditional sports and esports. EsportsU, the flagship of collegiate esports. Skillshot Media, the official broadcasting partner of the CECC. Atlanta Esports Alliance, location host of the CECC 2022 in Atlanta, Georgia. Esports Foundry, official tournament operator for the CECC. Did you miss us? Don't worry, you don't have to anymore because we're back here at CECC in Atlanta, Georgia. We are in the midst of Overwatch competition, and we are in the midst of Game 2 of Illinois State versus Harrisburg. You're looking fly over there in your Oakley shades.
Yeah, my eyes feel pretty strained from these bright lights, so I was like, you know what, sunglasses at night, let's do it.
I have to say, 3 of us have put these on now, and they've looked good on all of us, and I'm very impressed by that.
You just said I look good in these, and Oakley, what's up? Hit me.
Thank you for your sponsorship. This is absolutely, I'm being genuine though. Looking great. Also looking great are our teams down there. Any, you know, we've shared a lot of thoughts about this match, but are there any remaining? I mean.
Sorry, I'm doing a thing here.
I'm sorry, my bad.
Oakley,
Go
hit me
ahead.
up.
Go ahead.
I'll be more direct. Oakley, hit me up. Slide in my DMs. What's up?
Come back to the players, exactly, yeah.
All right. I'm being told, rap on the desk, go away. We have casters ready to take us into the game. Please do, casters.
All right, thank you guys very much, and of course, thank you to Oak. I need some of those shades, man. Those are nice.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, these players looking real cool too, though. They got back into the game. All is well that ends well. We've come to an agreement. We drop all the ultimates. ISU still has their full cap, along with that extra couple of, along with that extra time that they should get from that. But they get to walk back the point with no ultimates. Was the trade-off? Vision now playing back, and the point already under contesting, wasting absolutely no time getting back in on the action. Lethal takes down Eiko to open things up, though, and it's already starting off poorly.
Nice ways to start it off here on the other side, though. Remains strong, but now the point has got to be all in. 1 by 1, it seems like they're going to be falling in this defense. And I'm a little scared because you mentioned this, right? They look really good on the attacking side for ISU, but when they're on the defense, that's when the difficulty really comes up. So hopefully they're able to contest into the street phase. They're playing the same composition, right? Not any of the crazy varieties. They're just relying so much on Tap and Akawa to have a very, very big impact too.
I'm a little worried about time though right now. These spawns were very, very, very good for ISU. They get to hold this choke perfectly. The only real kind of concession they've made is that Lethal and Divio get to contest this high ground basically for free, so they do have that out to try and get to the choke, but it's going to be pretty difficult when there's amplification matrices either way. Immediately those come out, the Doomfist dive comes in, and the HU make quick work of that choke, but now they're on the receiving end of the amplification matrix. Their work is not done yet. As you can see, Sohm is still walking across very dangerous territory in order to get in on the team, but now it's much more dangerous for ISU, who've got to contest this Doomfist. Lethal is in the back line, and boy, is he his namesake. Nobody's gone down yet, though. Instead, it's Tap. A beautiful immortality field out of RuPaul keeps the likes of everybody alive. A great shatter block is going to return the favor out of Akawa. Nothing is connecting. These teams are playing perfect defense, but nobody can find an elim.
It is a kills really that matter the most here, but they're not going to happen yet. Just on different parts of the payload here, trying to put up a fight into this, and the Sound Barrier is going to be ready for that next fight. Elk doesn't have it, and that's going to be the difference maker here.
A big ultimate to be missing out on, though. As React and RuPaul coming up on their ultimates. Liar as well has that sound barrier that you were talking about. Tap, unless if Blizzard's fat, it's going to be trouble, but React could eat it. This could get even worse for them. All things said and done. Lethal trying to go in. The Blizzard out. I see the DM, but doesn't quite catch what they're looking for. Eiko's now out of the way, and all of those ultimates that we were talking about are popped at the exact same time. It's a little risky, as if you don't win that fight immediately, it can get dangerous, and Sohm is showing us exactly why. Sohm from the high ground. Support? No! That's a DPS player, ladies and gentlemen, disguised a wolf in sheep's clothing. Sohm has come to take skulls.
every single time. One of my favorite highlights has got to be those Baptistes just popping off when the team needs it the most. Now opens up the fight, gets second checkpoint, and leaves them even more to work. But now Lethal, ready for the fight, has ultimate too. I want to see that engagement working properly though.
His ultimates have been dangerous. It's basically a get-out-of-jail-free card from the backline. Lethal can do whatever he wants, be as dangerous as he wants, as he is there. Drops down to 90 HP, but can effectively turn it into a re-engagement. There it is, straight into the backline. Now Vision is under pressure. This team is effectively pancaked between a Reinhardt and a Doomfist. It's not a fun place to be, but surprisingly, HU have done a really good job of disengaging from it. Akaw taking a bit too much damage right now, stepping a bit too far forward, and yeah, there's the punish. Divio has to give their life for it. Unfortunately, this position is just not great for HU. They're going to sound barrier for a re-engage, but they don't have the speed to go with it. Everyone's kind of kept at arm's length. This is very well played by ISU. If HU are effectively being led around on a leash.
This is exactly what I wanted to see, and it feels like it was lacking a little bit, but now they complement it, right? The layering of ultimates, that is not all of them using them at once, but coming up to the one ultimate that they need to win and take down that specific player on the enemy team. It's something that made that difference into that fight, and that made it last so long, right? And that is exactly what this team of ISU wants. It's just delay as much time as possible, waste as much time as possible for this attacking team, and see how far they can get with it.
And you know, 2 minutes is a scary amount of time to have against ISU. We talked about how rough these defenses have been, but so far it's been relatively smooth sailing. All is going according to plan for kind of both teams right now as we shuffle and play a little bit of footsies around these ultimates.
It's going to be the shatter, but it has to land, it has to work, and over again, the wall has denied it.
Akawa lays it down. Gig says it's easy work. Lightweight stuff for the main tank at ISU, blocking the shatter and putting him in the dirt. The 0-1-2 punch. Akawa just gets humiliated through the entire fight. Thankfully, Divio is there to save the day. Throws in a bomb, finds 2, and evens out the numbers.
Makes it even still, but the payload is moving. One member is enough, and that is the work that the side of Harrisburg is putting. It's forcing everyone in the side of ISU back, and it's doing exactly what was expecting of them. Gig coming up, now has a shatter to use on their side.
It's tough stuff. Gig, though, with the shatter is a very dangerous man. Connects it on. Unfortunately, Akawa just tries to flash the shield at it. Unfortunately, dropping it a little bit too late. Either that or it was a stun. I'm not quite sure which. Either way, you hate to see it if you're HU, who now are on the back foot.
And I gotta say, one of my favorite things now that we've seen on the defense of ISU is that they know how to disengage properly in the hands of Gig. He knows how to back up with that shield in the front and making sure that no one is going to suffer anymore. This is what is keeping them alive. There's still enough time. There's last fight territory here, but it's gotta happen fast. It's gotta be effective. Elk is gonna have the sound barrier, and that should be keeping the team alive for long enough.
That feels like a real trump card when you consider the dangerous things that are on the other side. A goes Blizzard, taps Blizzard. Of course, both teams have divas react, and Divio could change the course of this game in a matter of milliseconds should either of them manage to eat the Blizzards coming out from these teams. It should start out, though, relatively simple. RuPaul has an application matrix. It's pretty straightforward. Pop it when your team's in trouble. It makes it more spatial. And Big immediately getting walled. Nice counter wall by Eiko. Immediately having a counter charge. The Blizzard's out. Divio's eaten it! It's gone! A huge advantage for HU as they make their way in. Liar, they'll find the big move on to account. The main tank's now gone. The complete clown fiesta fight, but one Blizzard's out. Top managed to get it in, and Gig's down as well now. HU capitalizing on the misgivings of the May on the opposing side, and the gifts that have been handed to them by the likes of Divio coming in and eating a tasty, delicious Blizzard.
And when both teams are going to be playing this May, is that Blizzard, that one win condition that makes the difference, and it makes it into the last fight. The good thing here is that it's going to be another round. That just means another round that we get to see of King's Row, and it has been so intense. I know you mentioned a little bit of ISU and what they can do in the defense, but they look pretty strong. It was only a matter of seconds. It was just eating that ultimate that really made a difference. That Blizzard that can get so much value. It wasn't even able to get a kill, and it's an ultimate that doesn't even give us as much damage as others.
No, but it's the fact that you have one and they don't. I mean, Divio just shows up when it counts. This fight was incredible. I mean, Gig blocking the shatter, forcing them into Liar, who boofs them off the map. That is not a fun time to be a main tank, ladies and gentlemen. But you know what? I gotta hand it to Harrisburg. They take it on the chin, they turn the fight around, and they keep this thing going all the way to the end.
And it was the last fight. It was the last opportunity for them to make it happen. It's literally that one ultimate that makes the difference. And it seems like in that first map that we got to see, and in the second map as well, that's been the storyline. A single fight that can change the course of who is going to take that victory. We know that the side of Harrisburg, they already won that control map, but Illinois State, they don't want to stay behind.
Oh, they're not giving anything up for free. I wouldn't be surprised to see a compositional swap for them if they want to play the poke rush. They've got a lot of tools in their kit to try, if we're being honest, but both teams sticking to the tried and true. One with a cast, one soldier. Lethal's brought out a soldier before a couple times in contenders. I'm not sure if it's going to stick, though. I think it will.
I mean, he already played Genji.
Yeah, you know what? Who am I to judge? We got a minute on the clock, though, and things are close. This is it. It's match point for Harrisburg, something we have to keep in mind should they full hold this. This is dire straits for ISU. Akawa applying pressure on Gate. They're half HP. Immortality Field forced out of ISU, a hugely advantageous position. Now both Immortality Fields are out, though, and both Reinhardts are off the field. All bets are off. You're looking at DPS to pop off in these situations. They need to come in clutch, and Lethal's doing exactly that alongside Tap.
It's the DPS, but it's also Devio. We get to see the kills too. We get to see the peeling once the main tank goes down. And that is a job that is a player that has to take it and does it in a perfect manner now, keeping the team alive. But the next fight is already taking place. There's 10 seconds remaining.
10 seconds, but look at this. Look at how patient ISU are, despite the timer burning directly in their face. They know they have the matrix. They know they can make the space on the point. 2 seconds till the touch comes in, and they get it no problem. Eiko has to give their life for it, but now RuPaul not far enough forward. Gig is disconnected from his support that's helping him out so much. This is not a pretty sight, ladies and gentlemen. ISU have been picked apart bit by bit by Harrisburg on this defense. A fantastically played minute of Overwatch, but now the buck has been passed. ISU must do the exact same thing to draw their way into another map.
And you know, when we mention that possibility of playing different heroes as well, playing different DPS, we think of mystery heroes, right? But mystery heroes, this time is going to be in a positive way, in a positive connotation with Lethal now, bringing a soldier, making it work out. When we saw the Genji as well, it was working out to a certain extent, but until he had to change at the end, and it wasn't really doing too much. But we've seen that, we've seen Bastion. I mean, what else is he going to bring next?
I mean, his house of cards continues to grow ever larger. His hero pool ever deeper in the backyard. This guy can do virtually anything. The Genji was impressive for a while until he just got like smoked 3 times in a row, but it happens most of the time.
He got away with a couple fights, and I feel like that's good enough for Genji in 2022.
He's used to Overwatch too, where you just run around on Genji and do whatever you want. It doesn't really work that way anymore, but oh boy, composition swaps 1 minute on, and Akawa and Devio might just be trying to spot things out from the high ground here, but a change up here would be big.
And I want to say, I feel like Devio has been highlighted a little bit more recently in the recent fights that we got to see.
I think the Reaper's real. Wait, yeah, the
Reaper's
real, everything else isn't. Yeah, there we go. Okay, this is the comp.
Okay. Yeah, and I was saying Devio has been doing a pretty good job. He was able to stabilize the team a little bit when they lose Akawa. And I want to look up to him knowing that there's only 1 minute remaining and you have to get the best. You have to get that 32%.
Oh, Reaper's out. I mean, we said the buck has been passed. The gauntlet has been placed down. Gig's got a hard time. Playing into May Reaper as a Reinhardt is one of the harder tasks you'll have in your life. Gig immediately getting focused down. It's Eiko, though, who falls no way to counter the walls, and now as Gig falling, ISU can feel it slipping from their grubby hands as HU steals it away. A minute they have, but only 30 seconds they'll need to knock ISU down to the lower bracket.
And it's insane, right? Because it was so intense from beginning to end. You would think we saw multiple maps, but that wasn't even the case, right? Only 2, and that was enough to give Harrisburg that victory. It was, again, intense, and it is these 2 teams that I would expect and I would love to see in 7 maps. Bring anything that you got, because we know every single map they're going to make it a close one.
And you know, we got a 5-map grand final tomorrow, and we got a 5-map winners final coming up. I might be just a kid in Christmas in the middle of the summer. This is everything we could have asked for out of collegiate Overwatch and more. These teams are going the distance. It looked, you know, like it's a 2-0, but it's an esports 2-0. It was 2-0, but it was close every single step of the way, and you saw just how much it took. ISU was playing fantastically as a team. Gig was playing pretty well on the main tank. Got some, like, a few small situations, but I can't say by any means either team really got a strong edge over each other.
Every single sub-map that we saw in the control, it was contested for that overtime every single time. And then King's Row as well, going to a 3rd, 4th round as well to guarantee how it was going to end up. But at the end of the day, it is that Harrisburg the one that gets away with the victory in a really, really good manner. I mean, it's, again, a matter of fights. The narrative that I mentioned before, it comes down to a single fight to make a difference, and when you only have 1 minute to have an impact in a map like this one, in a defense and an attack like this one, it's just Harrisburg being able to do it just a little bit better today.
And that means ISU goes down to the lower bracket, which is scary. There's some scary, scary, scary teams down in the lower bracket. We know for a fact already that SCAD is down there, but last I checked, Boise is sitting down there.
There's so many good teams.
Bay State sitting down there. I'm not sure which of them actually survived in order to go on a face-up because we've been watching these fantastic matches. But I'll be honest, SCAD, Bay State, the likes of ISU are not exactly, it's not an easy match, but by any means, none of those teams are.
And I want to say, I definitely have a feeling, right, that the Redbirds, they can make it to those grand finals. And we're not going to get to see them today anymore because we're only covering that winners bracket. But again, I feel like this is a team that has the potential. They have, they're just hungry for victories, right? They're hungry for victories, and we know that they're able to get them.
Yeah, but that means in our winners finals, Northwood, Harrisburg, two huge schools, so invested in esports. Northwood, I think, came here with 3 teams, and a top-tier Valorant team, a top-tier Overwatch team, and a top-tier Rocket League team. This is exactly what investing in your esports program and putting it on well can do for you. It brings you winning players, it brings you brand recognizability, and it brings you wins like this. They've just got a little bit further to go.
And it gives a name in every single aspect to these colleges as well, that they're trying to build the esports scene. And this is something that recently we really have to value because it makes a difference, right? It's creating the space, it's creating a safe space for these players to pop off in every way possible and to give us plays and to give us moments like this one.
Yeah, I mean, this was some nuts stuff, man.
We're just stressed out. We're just stressed out.
I'm losing my mind, man. I've known a lot of these players for a long time. It's like picking your favorite child and just watching them duke it out, but I can't pick my favorite, so I'm just watching my children fight. It's a sad day.
We love them both, and we love all the teams as well. Every single time they're bringing something new, and it's so exciting to see that the competitive scene is just not 1, 2 teams making it competitive. It's everyone here that we get to see today and that we're going to continue to see until tomorrow for those grand finals.
Dude, grand finals are going to be an absolute banger.
I'm so excited.
We've got 3 fantastic teams still in it, and that 4th just wild card spot that feels like if virtually anybody could take it. We've had some fantastic colleges come and play today, and every single one of them gave it everything, but there's only a few standing left.
Yeah. There's only a couple left, and it's a scary territory to be in because it's putting more pressure. Even those dark horse stories that we talked about, right? Now you have the pressure to make sure that the dark horse story just goes from beginning to end and does not just stop right in the middle.
Yeah, you got to take it all the way. Like I said, that kind of...
You can't just live in the middle because then it's not properly that story that we want.
That 4th spot's a big question. SCAD, Bay, Boise, whoever's left down there at this point.
Yeah.
It is quite a battlefield over there, but only one team's coming out on top. Only one team gets the chance to have that underdog story because a lot of them have been eliminated. But all we can say is that we can send it back to the desk. They can tell us all what they think is going down in that lower bracket. What's happening in the winners finals? Please, do tell all.
Well, first of all, we asked for cheese, and they gave us some cheddar.
They did.
Tell us a little bit about what happened in that cheesy moment.
Just dairy products all over the place, right? That's typically that's
exactly. Man, it hits here.
there was actually a point in that where I was like, oh, they just won, like just straight up off of the play it was they were making, right? It was the very, very initial fight, and you could clearly tell based on how they had the Rhine set up and how their team composition was, they weren't expecting for a May to be there. Like, they weren't at all. That wall went up, everyone came crashing down. It's like a game of Jenga, right? Like, you have like everyone stacked on top of each other, you put the wall up, all of them literally fall on the other side off of their high ground. They sort of flood in and pretty much, keep the pressure on them. And you mentioned, the reason I mentioned that is because you mentioned the cheese, and it was like almost like a really cheesy strat that they tried, but it crumbled immediately. Like, immediately off of the very first engage, which is what netted them that win. And then our casters mentioned it. It's the losers bracket it's the trenches right now. You have to fight for your life. That is not an easy losers bracket to make it through.
So you're telling me the cheese was crumbly, more like a feta than a cheddar?
Or blue cheese, depending on that. Like, I guess you can have blue cheese crumbles, I suppose.
Yes, but you were talking about that lower bracket being the trenches. I think that's absolutely a great point. What do you think? Well, I would ask you what we think, but I just found out that Jackie is actually ready with a player who I want to talk to even more than you all. So, Jackie.
That's fair. Bring
us that interview.
Hey, Anna.
I was just looking up. I was like, is she tossing to me? I was just catching up with Elk here, congratulating him on his victory. Y'all are going to the winners finals. Tell me, how great does that feel?
Feels great. Obviously, we came here with the intent to win, and so far we've been putting on a good show, so I'm excited for winners finals.
Okay, let's talk about that series a little bit more. Definitely tight at times. They were on your heels. So what did you do to adapt?
Yeah, so I would say the fallback strategy, because we're very confident in our own mechanical play, is always just mirror the comp and try to play it better. And I think Overwatch 1 at this point has been out for so long that we're all pretty comfortable doing that. So especially on King's Row, you know, on our defense, we played double shield into them, and then on attack when they were on rush, you know, we just matched the rush. I generally think that's the best strategy for us going forward, so it's been working out so far.
Okay, looking ahead, going forward, as you were saying, Northwood is next. This is a really big name when it comes to collegiate esports. So what are you thinking?
Northwood is definitely one of the teams that I would say is our biggest rival aside from Maryville. Northwood obviously have amazing performances pretty much across the board at every event they go to. Obviously they lost to Landon pretty recently, who went to London, which is a huge amazing thing for their entire program. But I think from where we stand, you know, we really want to beat them. We lost to them in NACE, we lost to them in the collegiate championship, so showing that we can actually beat them here would be really big for us.
Well, we shall see. And of course, do you want to say anything to the fans at home? I love the crowd. They're like, ooh, talking a little bit of smack here.
I guess just thank you for supporting me. I've been too active on social media since I started going to college, but I appreciate anybody who's still hanging around and watching, cheering me on.
Aw, also you're gonna get some new shoes, right? That was part of the deal if you won.
Yeah, we're 2 matches away now to new shoes, so hopefully we'll see.
All right, I'm gonna send it back to the desk.
No! Oh my God! Why would you do that?
Oh, they are doing themselves so dirty.
You do know that if they win, he can't not get rid of those. Like, I know he says he's going to buy some.
Oh, he's going to buy new ones. Those go in a case.
No, you will never see him not wear those at an event from now on.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He keeps saying he'll buy new shoes, but I would be like, if I win,
he's going to be tripped out of his
forever.
mind everywhere else, but at events, he's wearing those shoes.
Duct tape, baby. It works wonders.
He could buy new shoes and wear them to the match and then change shoes.
That's
so
crazy.
You could just bring those shoes. I mean, what?
With the way that they're headed, like if he does like cutouts and he puts slip-ons with them because the bottom's going to be gone, like
you put the slides underneath. Your shoes have shoes?
I don't know. If he wins, maybe we should buy new shoes. We can pick some for him.
Crazy.
Some more durable ones.
No,
yeah.
bro.
Anyways, let's talk about those matches. We heard from Elk, we are confident in our mechanical play, so we mirror the comp and just try to do better. I'm interested what you guys think of that strategy. Let's start with Blue over here, because I cut you off last time.
Well, they didn't really necessarily copy the comp there at the end in overtime. You could tell Lethal did not want to lose that game. So they went down 3-0. They allowed Illinois State to push all the way in. And then we had a pause, and they probably said, you know what, we got to win this game. We want to win this 2-0. We got a little bit of a delay, just like the set before us, but we want to just not have to take all day with this. We don't want to have to go to a game 3. And like Lawler was saying off camera, I wouldn't want to get dropped down to the lower bracket. Just send me, let's get the shortest route to the way to win, right? And then winning would be that way. So what they did was they scored 3 times, and then they said, okay, we're going to overtime. What can we do since we have to play defense first? Lethal pulls out Soldier 76 and says, I'm just going to shoot my gun, okay? Point and shoot. Open game, shoot gun. As soon as I get ultimate, it aims for me. All I got to do is make sure I'm hitting someone. And then on offense, they said, I'm pretty sure Lethal's like, okay, here's the game plan. All right, they huddled up, a little huddle, and they said, I'm going to play.
The insider info you have.
Yeah, I'm going to play Reaper. I'm going to TP up top. You're going to play Diva, and you're going to come with me. We're going to distract them so hard up top that our Mei is going to Mei-wall them off. They either have to drop down and fight us, and we're already going to be on the point because Mei and Ryan are just going to walk straight into the point. And we only need 1/3. We only need 20%, like 30% of this point, right? And we've got a minute to do it. So let's just hit them hard, and they're not going to notice, and that's what happened.
Hey man, realistically, like when you're trying to get into those big moments, right, you are in a chance to 2-0, not delay this any further, like you can close it out here. The ability to have the confidence to say, hey, we are going to go for this, we're going to play aggressive, we're going to close this out right now, and then it paying off, not only instills so much confidence, but going into this next series, you talk about the long haul. Like Northwood's been sitting cold for a while. Like this is a pretty big deal for them to close it out and just go next.
That's true. We've been talking about the lower bracket as the trenches.
Right.
If that's the case, what is this upper bracket?
You're sitting pretty. You got a martini in your hand.
Nah, this is the trench.
You know,
Yeah,
remember when Dor was sitting and like just lounging? It's that.
Yeah? Okay.
They're sitting on the floor with Dor like, we go next. Like, bring it on. You know?
And typically the reason why I bring that up is because that actually is a mindset that I've heard a lot of players have, right? We're in winner's bracket, we can afford to make a mistake, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
Like we have a chance that we can drop down to the lower bracket, and that'll be okay because we're confident in how we play. We understand this. As long as it's not like a stomp in winner's bracket, because then that shifts up the mental and sort of the perspective it is that you have.
Right.
A lot of teams typically do a lot better when they're just like, okay, wait, close game, we didn't win, but we're in loser's bracket. We know what we can do better on, and they typically just want to jump right into the next game immediately after that, right? So it comes down to a lot of being able to tell what sort of went wrong during the game to be able to reach that sort of level of understanding where it's like, okay, well, we can afford to make a mistake. Let's try something out. I've definitely seen teams do that before. Let's try something out because we're in the winner's bracket. Even if it's not like optimal, we'll try it because it could potentially give us an edge and give us a chance. We can end up winning.
And then if it doesn't work, they still have that.
Right, they still have another chance.
Second chance, yeah.
Right.
We're going to watch Northwood versus Harrisburg. Do you guys have predictions for that?
My prediction is going to be a good match. There's like the rivalry between 1 and 2. They've got a ton of history together, and I mean we talked about this at the beginning of the Overwatch segment. You know, with Blue, like talking. Okay, Landon's no longer with them. They have a ton of experience, and then the ability to say like, hey, we're coming with our starting roster. Like they did at one point rebuild their entire team. I think it was like last semester or the semester before. So seeing that come to fruition and still having the performance that they are. And you're going up against the rivals. It means a little bit more. Like, what more do you want in a tournament when the #1 and #2 seed are the ones going in to see who goes to the grand finals? Like, this means more than just winning. It is kind of the icing on the cake when you can get these victories. Having just watched Harrisburg, you mentioned the #1 seed. That is Northwood. Is Northwood going to be easily able to hold on to that #1 spot, do you think? Depends on Cajun food. That's honestly. Like,
the Raging Cajun better be coming out.
Hey, man, if that guy's got a belly full, he's either ready for a nap or he's going to sleep on the competition. Like, it's one of the other.
It's true. Going to bed or putting